I'm Miriam Therese Winter, medical mission sister, a singer of songs. And I'm here to announce the arrival of a new CD and to tell you a bit about the Sacred Folk Song Project, the spirit-inspired initiative of Dan Paulus, director of the St. Bernadette Institute of Sacred Art in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Dan is overseeing and bringing into being a 5-CD boxed set of songs previously published and sung by the Medical Mission Sisters, and in this collection will be sung by other people from a variety of faith traditions. Some of the singers very well known, like Janice Ian, John McDermott, Melba Moore, the Limelighters, Elizabeth Von Trapp, and others known and loved in local and provincial settings. These songs are coming into existence in this format because Dan is convinced that we need to put all our energy into bringing about a more united and more interconnected world. And so this first volume of this set, the first volume of the collection entitled Loving You, is now available. You can get it from the website of the St. Bernadette Institute or the website of the Medical Mission Sisters in Philadelphia or right here in Hartford, Connecticut at Hartford Seminary, where I am currently a member of the faculty. The really, really incredible good news about this project is that it is very inclusive and it celebrates all creation, all peoples, planet Earth, and sings to the themes that we hope will help us become more united. And also, at Dan's insistence, 100% of the income raised by the selling of these CDs goes to the mission, the worldwide global healing ministries and mission of the Medical Mission Sisters. That means you buy a CD on this side of the planet, and a hungry child will be fed somewhere across the world, or someone who's ill will be tended to. We are deeply grateful for your support, and we ask that you keep this in mind, this message that I would like to leave with you. When you return to the rest of your day, remember that the one who created you is loving you, and asks that each one of us love one another, love all people, all creation, all life, and by our deeds of loving kindness and generosity and compassion, we will bring into being a more welcoming world, a more just world, and a world of peace. And in the process, we will be blessed. So much for being here. This is such a good feeling. I was just saying to someone, this is much better than awake. Although I might be feeling better at awake because I'll be in another dimension. I won't have to say anything, you know. And I wasn't thinking, as is my want for certain things, creative. It doesn't pass through the brain. I thought we would just sit over in 76 on the floor, talk a little bit, chew a little bit on food, play a few things from the CD. But that's not happening. But we do have a lovely ambience here, and believe it or not, the sound in this room is stellar. With this gift that was given to me, a Bose machine, can't believe that. And so you'll have an opportunity to hear a few of the cuts, a few of the tracks. But what I'd like to do is contextualize this. And I want to say right out the start, I had nothing to do with this. This is something that happens to you when life has its own plans, and God's Spirit has another track. And they kind of go together a little bit or parallel, like parallel universes converging, and then all of a sudden, whammo, they come together. And at a time such as this, when I'm deeply into a sense of the universe from a quantum perspective, those of you who walk with me know that I've been given sort of the framework for understanding some of this stuff. So what I'd like to do is contextualize not only the project, but just a little bit about the music, okay? And then you'll hear some of what this is and what it's all about. For those of you who are Catholic in this crowd, and there are a few of you that I see, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the convoking and the opening of Vatican II. Oh, you didn't know that, huh? In the fall, October of 1962, the wonderfully charismatic Pope John XXIII called into reality the Vatican Council. And with this clarion call of aggiornamento, get up to date, okay, get updated. And we talked about the proverbial or metaphorical, throw open the windows and open the doors and let the Holy Spirit in. Well, let me tell you, the Holy Spirit said, finally, a formal invitation from on high to that which is even higher yet, to come on in and mess things up. And that's exactly what happened in 1962. And the very first reality that shifted was with the liturgy. And at the core of the liturgy, one of the biggest changes was the music. Those of you know, and even if you're not of this tradition, that the language was Latin, that the music that had pride of place was Gregorian chant, and the motets and wonderful Renaissance motets and works and beautiful music, but it wasn't music of the people. It was sort of sacred music. The word sacred was very clearly not the stuff we do, which you can see right now we are on different terrain here, because tonight, this afternoon, we're talking about, and we'll introduce the Sacred Folk Song Project, okay? But I want to say that what happens here, what's happening here began back then. And that actually, and it's, I want to say also that it's not going to end here, but it also didn't really begin there. And with me, and I need to say a few things about that. I've always sort of danced on a different realm while having my feet somewhat on the solid ground. And while some people or some kids were wishing on a star, I was actually conversing with the galaxies. Don't ask me why or how or what I said or what I knew, but somehow it just seemed that the bond was there, even though I couldn't put it into words. I could put it into metaphor language as I aged. When I learned to write my first poem, I think I was 6 or 7. It was poetry that took me. It wasn't something that I did because I had to construct a poem. It was a way of processing a reality that was in but also out. And so I fit within the frameworks where I was, but I sort of lived and danced in another realm. And as I got older and felt a call to a dedicated life as a religious, I looked for, well, I didn't even look for, I guess it just was given to me, a community that was boundless, really, a multicultural interfaith, not interfaith, a multicultural, international community of women called the Medical Mission Sisters. And I really believed at the time I wanted to be a doctor. Not a PhD doctor, a medical doctor, a real doctor. That would go to Africa and work. At that time I felt the call to Zulu, and I think because of the sound of the word, Zulu just called me. And I wanted to go to Africa and be a physician, and entered this community. And again, here we have our frameworks. I'm going along. Vatican II comes, and they need someone to figure out how we're going to make the transition from what was to what will be. And because I had taken piano lessons as a kid, and I was a little bit more into metaphor and stuff, maybe they said also, my God, we don't want her in the OR. But you never get too much information in religious communities when you're assigned things back in those days. Anyway, I was asked, and that was a beautiful thing, would I be willing to study sacred music? And so what I did was I said yes. What could you say? Newly professed, I almost died inside because I didn't know what that would mean, except that I wasn't going to Africa, and I wasn't going to be a doctor, and I wasn't going to do all those things I thought I was going to do since I was a little girl. I went with the flow, and wouldn't you know, I'm in Catholic University, ended up with a degree actually in Gregorian chant, and the Latin music, because they weren't exactly on the cutting edge of change yet. Being a pontifical institute, I learned a lot from them, wonderful things, but here I was, and I gave, and this is absolutely, when we were in the church a month ago or so, at the funeral memorial service for Mary Coleman, bless her heart. She's with us in spirit now. The spirit world is wonderful because everyone you want to be here is here. She's here. They did on the organ the Bach, Toccata, and Fugue. And I had absolute cosmic goosebumps because that was my graduation recital piece on a 189 stop 4-manual organ in Baltimore Cathedral, Mary Our Queen, and I did it, and I got my degree, and I never played another note. Because medical mission sisters are missionary, we didn't even own an organ. So that was the end of that, and you know what degree I got? A BM. Which I insisted on spelling B-M-U-S, Bachelor of Music. To have a BM in the medical community is no fun. So here I am, devastated, useless, and then one of our older sisters, and then here I have this. It was months before the significant shift in the language. 4 months after I get this, the language is gone, and one of our older sisters said, well, and Miriam Therese, what a pity, isn't it? Your degree is useless. I said, and in a sense, that's sort of where I was, in the middle of nowhere, in my own spirit, my own heart. And so we were singing kind of Protestant hymns to get us to the point where the change finally came, but then when we had all our liturgy in English and we needed music to match the themes, there was nothing there. So I figured, well, I got this degree. I picked up a guitar and I said, surely I can play at least 3 chords after all of this. And so the story began. I began singing songs that matched the theme, like of the wedding banquet. I cannot come to the banquet, don't trouble me now. I have married a wife, I have bought me a cow. You all know that somewhere. Those songs came in relationship to that. Okay, make a long story short, they took off. We made a recording. Don't ask me why or how, it's too long a story. But it happened swiftly, and the whole thing just went to the missions, literally. Through missionaries grabbed it and ran with it. Protestant groups grabbed it and ran with it. The underground church in Roman Catholicism took the songs. The songs or hymns I've written are in many hymnals, all Protestant in the United States. Not a single one in the formal Roman Catholic hymnal. It's too dangerous, but you know, that really makes me happy in a way to not fit, you know, because the Spirit is there, my spirit is there, God's Spirit is there. But as I evolved, the music, it wasn't like I was writing songs. It was processing information. Remember the 60s, all of the uprisings and all of like the Occupy movements then. The music brings it right back. There's something about music that you have it, it's not really past, it's present. I was singing like, down in the ghetto, the blood flows free. There is rebellion in the university. Who is the guilty? Is it they or is it we? Lord, have mercy on your people. Now that's not going to endear you to the establishment. But really, that was the stuff that I found myself really drawn to to sing of those things that somehow, it's like in art, you kind of deal with that. You try to make it concrete and tangible. And as I moved out, so many different communities of different religious traditions, the Old Order Mennonites and all through Canada, they would call me in to pray with them and sing these songs. And I began to so feel again the sense, none of this is about me, none of this is about the songs, it is about the Spirit channeling, finding channels, finding ways to dig under the walls we put around ourselves through our religious and cultural and national and international frameworks, or climb over the top, or find the hole in the rock and go through. And so that there was a bondedness, a sort of sense of belonging to and being one with different denominations, different traditions. And then the whole female thing, why can't we call God Mother? Why can't we have a language that does that? And that really developed here at Hartford Seminary. Way back in the mid-'80s, I would go every morning into the chapel, which has a gorgeous acoustic, and nobody was around all summer, and just sing and sing and sing. And then I said to one of my colleagues, way back then, I said, we need to practice for a little bit using these images, and I'd like to introduce them. And he turned very nervous. He was very supportive and a very lovely guy, and he just simply said, why can't we just call him it? And I said, that is precisely why we can't call him it. Because the it is him to you, and her will never get in there. So the movement of that, the sense of the cosmic, the international, being to the different places where song can get there. And then when you're not there, here's the irony of the whole thing. I've been in Africa all over the place, with some places in body, but more places in spirit, because the songs are in the Catholic hymnals all over Kenya and Uganda, and it's just so wonderful because it is one spirit. So part of what I want to say in these comments is where we are. All of us are in frameworks. It's like, say you give birth to your children and they go off and you know who they are. But in the end, you don't know all of who they are. And the worlds and the energies and the spirit that they carry forth into other places. Or even the tasks we do in our dedicated lives, our teaching, or we see this, but we don't see the impact of the influence of everything that we help others to find within themselves, and they go forth and help others to find positive influences in themselves. And so I'm talking the quantum language of not either or, but both and, because I'm still 6 years old, or 21, or 42, or whatever the age is. The numbers, there's no number in the quantum realm. It's all the eternal now. It's all the eternal present. And as you look back, the themes of the 60s are the same themes, really. The world is still at war. There is still poverty all over the place. There is still disparity in the best places that it shouldn't be. And so, in a sense, all of this, when I followed the path and received the call to come here, I didn't come as a person doing music, although that was the reason they did get me to come here, but not to do music necessarily, but to really do spirituality and liturgy and worship, which is really where the depths of my being resonates. It's that sense of calling into a place, for example, the presence of this little boy who was in the refugee camp, has leprosy. I was part of running a leprosy ward in the mid-'80s, in the on the Thai-Cambodia border, and he is here present with us. And the cloth from the northern part of Nagaland, from the tribal peoples of Nagaland. And so you bring that spirit and you bring all these pieces together and you say, all of this is in an eternal now as we celebrate or speak or sing or whatever we do in this place. And so that spirit and the spirit of this wonderful institution all comes together and adheres, and it becomes one big spirit. So I wasn't doing music here. I mean, I might have sung a song here and there, but I was here helping people to find what they needed to do and who they needed to be, because I had somehow, had been revealed to me through the Spirit of God, pushing and shoving me in ways I hadn't intended to go, or breaking me open to new possibilities, that this is the same in everyone. You just need a context that is supportive and encouraging, and the time and the opportunity, and then you need to read some different kinds of books, and you need to listen to different kinds of people, and we have to break beyond the frameworks we're in. We can stay within them, but we cannot be trapped within them. That the world, the universe is so much bigger. And as I remembered working on the music, when I finally got my PhD at Princeton, I did my dissertation on theology of Catholic Church music and concluded there was none. It took a Protestant institution to give me a PhD on the basis of that conclusion. There was none, but we did have a very firm aesthetic of sacred music. In other words, what was said to be sacred was not theologically established, but it was preferentially. This is the preferred. Sacred music is that which sounds sacred and is sung by sacred sorts, like the choirs, which at that point, even earlier, women couldn't even be in the formal choirs within the Catholic Church. We couldn't stand in the sanctuary, so that it was all, in a sense, music that was other than that which was secular, instead of deeply inherent within the secular, as imaged in the reality of the personhood of Jesus, incarnate within creation, is the sacredness. And so this is the piece that I really kind of resonate with and reflect with. So here I am thinking, and those of you who have heard me 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I said this, and I really felt it from the depths of my angst to a few persons I was sharing this with. I feel like I'm losing the music. I don't want to lose the music because I wasn't making music. I wasn't doing it. And you can't just do it. You have to have a context to do it, people to do it with, time, opportunity, occasion. And so you are here this afternoon because God said, excuse me, I'll show you music. And what comes in, and I think this is just so incredible, I get an email from a lovely person in New Mexico by the name of Dan Paulus, who is the founder and director of St. Bernadette Institute of Sacred Art at the National Shrine of St. Bernadette in Albuquerque. And he says, and he had over the years periodically, very rarely sent an email or did something very nice, gifted me with a kind of award from the Institute, but I never met him, and I actually never spoke to him. I don't remember I did, but he said I did at one point. Anyway, he asked permission to take my songs and put out kind of you would do in academia would be a Festschrift, a sort of something collection to honor me. And he said, for my 75th birthday, well then I was 70, I think, or 71 or 71, I'm not sure, I don't even know how old I am. I think I'm 73. Anyway, when it started, I said, no one wants to think you're 75, so I didn't answer him for 4 months. I do that when I don't know what to do. I pretend. I forget about it. I just forget about it. I get too busy. Those of you who haven't heard from me, I love you dearly. I will answer your emails one of these days, not tonight. Anyway, so, I don't know, he just left it. He didn't pursue. And then I felt guilty. After about 4 months, I said I should at least answer him. So I said, well, because the songs are out there, I can't stop you. I can't say, no, if you want to do something, you can do that. I said, but you want to sing other people to sing these songs? Who's going to sing it? Which of course was none of my business. It wasn't my project. So I said, I'm going to stop you as my support of this project because I didn't somehow think it would be anything. Well, about 5 days later, he calls, sends an email, all excited. I just got a telephone call from John McDermott, the Irish tenor. He says, I love that music. I'd like to do a song. And so it began. The project it's a bigger project. This is volume 1 of a 5-volume series. It started out to be 3 volumes, now it's 5. It's over 101 or 105 songs, selected from the ones I already have. And then, because I said, well, if we stop with the ones already published, it's like I died before it became quantum. Not a good idea. So that hooked me into, could I tuck some quantum things in to actually then blend in with the others, all of which are in some sense quantum. So that's what it is. Volume 1 he worked on, and it is just an astonishing thing that people actually wanted to do it. We do have here today 2 people, Bobby and Jan, from their Femina Melodia choir, and they also will be on, I think, the next one, okay? We're not sure. I'm not sure if they're going to put them out singly, all of them, but they're going to be a collection. And in the collection will be a book that says everybody, a little bio and picture of everybody who's part of it. But what I'd like to do today is just simply to introduce you to some of the people who signed on, or a few of the songs, and play them. Are there any questions you want to ask me before we move into, and you can do this, you can interrupt, you can say, I'd like to talk about this. Otherwise, I will play you I'm going to play the first song. The whole project starts with the original track from the original recording of Joys Like the Rain, because that's the one that it just went gold in US and Canada. I'm not Canada, US, well, probably Canada, but Australia swiftly, and that's the one that most people know. So they left it exactly there, and then it takes off from there. I'd like to play then the second one, which is called The Visit. And it's beautifully sung. It's sung by Patty Cohenauer. Now, I have to tell you this. I had to deeply immerse myself in theology and interfaith and all kinds of stuff, but I am absolutely ignorant about music and theater and all those things. So a lot of people I don't really know, but I'm getting to know. I'm getting up to snuff. But Patty Cohenauer is from theater, from Broadway. And I think, as I recall, and Dan said, she played a Mother Superior in The Sound of Music, which I think is very fitting. But you can hear as she sings the stage presence in her. She does an exquisite rendition of a song called The Visit, which is the visitation. And I've always loved that passage in Scripture where Mary visits Elizabeth. And in a sense, what she speaks, the Magnificat, is one of the most dangerous texts in the New Testament, because it proclaims the uprising and the turning upside down of social systems. The last will be first, and the hungry will be fed, and those who weep will be comforted. And so it's empowering the powerless. And it's out of this context of Mary visiting Elizabeth that song, other hymn, eventually comes. This song is not about that. It's simply the story of Mary going to Elizabeth. Now, I am going to shift my role and do what I do absolutely terribly, and that is try to turn on a machine. It was to honor this, to the songs, but also to all the money would go to the Medical Mission Sisters for our healing ministry. Everything. This was put out on iTunes in December. The same things through iTunes, everything. It comes directly to the community so that this work will continue. This is an awesome thing. We don't know where the money's coming from for Volume 2, but he didn't know where it was coming from for Volume 1. And here it is. So it's like going forth in faith, that if this should be out there, and we really believe that music is a carrier, has the capacity to kind of link people of different contexts, different traditions. And it really is true.